My youngest child had turned 18 and was getting ready to graduate from high school. And it just sort of hit me that this thing that had exploded into my life a long time ago, like 15 years ago when my kids were little, and I kept quiet. I kept it to myself. And I was really alone with it. There was nothing online or anywhere. So it took me a lot of discovery. It took me enrolling in psychology courses in graduate school to really even understand what was going on with my own family. And somewhere along the way, I had given up hoping that there would be some resolution, that my family, that someone would come through my family and decide that they weren't going to let our family be destroyed until the children's childhoods were completely over. But sure enough, that's what happened. So I was working on launching a channel, and I was going to launch it in July. And I'd been working on videos and getting my website together and everything squared away for a couple of months. And then something happened that sort of took things off track. My oldest son, my 20-year-old beautiful son, died. That it would be completely inappropriate to not do it because it's completely related. It is totally related to the topic. My son didn't die in a vacuum. My children have a sociopathic father. Their father was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder in 2003. And then about 2005, we were finally divorced. But for 15 years, my kids lived in a war zone. There was never any peace. And so it happens, I was raised by narcissistic parents. I have one older brother. He's narcissistic as well. And one of the reasons I really want to get into discussion was I felt like I could be the one person that could make just about anybody feel better, because I felt like I could say, here's what happened to me, and here's all the mistakes that I made, and here's how far it took me down. And I still made it. I still recovered. I still bounced back. I have a wonderful husband. I live in a beautiful home. And I would have told you that things were going pretty well. They were going really well. They're not regular kids. They're kids that they're trauma survivors, or well, one's not a survivor anymore. They were trauma survivors, but now my 18-year-old is, he's not out of the woods by any means. I thought that I could be an important voice. I wanted to talk about how this really does affect kids long term, because I'm a survivor of narcissistic parents who we are estranged. I've been estranged from them for 15 years. He's still a big part of my life, and I have, I'm working on ways that I can incorporate him into what I'm doing, and I definitely feel like the message that I'm getting from him is that I need to go forward. That the fact that he was struggling with depression, the fact that he had developed an addiction was very related to the fact that he was in this chaotic situation. And I don't believe that if he'd had two loving parents and a supportive, loving family that was protective and nurturing and empathic and healthy, that we would have ended up here. I think that we ended up here because his heart was broken and because it never let up. It never let up. So for his entire life, I've been under attack. My two boys and I have been the rogue branch in the family tree. We've been scapegoated. We're the black sheep. I need to go forward because there doesn't need to continue being more lost because of character disordered people. It really, what's kept me silent all these years is not wanting to wanting to risk any potential peace that my sons could have. So not wanting to cause any trouble, ruffle any feathers, just wanted to fly under the radar screen until they were raised, and so that they could have as much peace as possible. What I found was that after doing that for 15 years, it was probably a mistake, because what it did was it basically condoned their behavior, and nothing got better. Left to their own devices, left to what they, left to what they could just choose to do based on, they just kept the conflict going. There was no growth, no epiphanies, no change, no nothing. There was never any reason for any of them to be angry with me or mad at me or anything in the first place, but nothing ever got resolved. Nothing ever got resolved. And when my son died, it became even that much more apparent just how utterly sick the family is. I mean, a family that cannot come together at a time like that is, crazy. And of course, I sit here and I think their father is getting lots of narcissistic supply out of him dying. He doesn't have any, kind of sociopathic father that basically was daring my kids to, the things that he's done was like everything you could possibly do. Every counterintuitive thought a parent could have is what he did. He had no natural protective paternal instincts at all. So the things that he would do were just completely counterintuitive for a parent. And it was, terrifying. And I have been in so many battles. I've been in court. Lots of legal abuse, lots of financial abuse, lots of that kind of stuff. And just the very worst examples, the very worst role models for my kids in how to be a man, how to be a responsible person. And my son, the one that died, was a singer and songwriter, and you'll hear a lot of his music, and you're going to hear in the lyrics how he felt, what he thought, how angry he was, and how sad he was, and how lost he was, and growing up in conflict like that was just horrendous. It was just the very worst thing for kids there could possibly be.